On the Elko, I've got a quadrijet carburetor, and what we're going to be doing is taking out the primary throttle shaft here. We should take these screws out, so we take the blades out, throttle blades out, and then in here we're going to install bushings to tighten up the throttle shaft. I'll zoom in so you can see it better, but this is loose because it wears. There's pressure from the throttle cable pulling back on it like this. And what happens is when the engine gets warm, this casing expands and it actually creates a vacuum leak, and it starts to idle erratically and things like that. So we're going to attempt to fix that today. So these screws are deformed on the ends from the factory, so they are one-time use only. If these screws were to fall out, they would actually drop right into the engine, which would naturally be bad. So you actually have to grind the heads off, and then I have new screws to install when we go to put it back together. A little bit of persuasion is in order. After we moved the carburetor that was full of gasoline 10 minutes ago out of the way. If heat doesn't work, a little mechanical shock. You can see how egged out that shaft hole is. On the other side, it's just as bad. So how are we going to make things better? These are bronze oilite bushings. These bushings, we are going to use a reamer to open up the case enough to be able to push these in, and then these bushings fit very nicely. There's no slop on them compared to the aluminum casing. And even if there is some slop, it'll be consistent. They aren't going to wear out nearly as fast as the aluminum housing did. If there are any machinists in the audience, look away. Well, no, just turn it off, because what I'm about to do with this reamer, people are not going to be happy about. But about this reamer, these are 3.75 OD. This reamer is 3.45 OD. What we're going to do, rather than using it the normal way and chucking it in and trying to drill it or ream it straight, we are actually going to take this, use the normal shank, slide it through the body of the quadrijet, and then turn it in reverse. We're actually going to grab on this lightly with the chuck of the drill and just turn it slightly. this reamer is a single purpose tool. This is the only thing I'm going to be doing with it. So, by the way, I have more quadrajet base plates if I screw this up, or when I screw this up, I should say. So obviously this back edge is not nearly as sharp as it needs to be to cut. Now remember, everything we're doing with this cutter is completely not how it's designed to be used. So there's no complaints about this thing not working properly. If you look, we're cutting on this back edge here. There's a radius here, so it's not cutting very well. And then if you look at this edge, this back edge, it's actually in this orientation. The cutting edge of the cutter is here, and it's like this. So this back edge of the flute is hitting, so it's just rubbing rather than cutting on this front edge. So the back edge is like that. If you look, I've already ground one here. And what I did is I just took the Dremel cutter and cut it and ground it like this. Much better. To install the bushings, we're going to take the longest 5/16 bolt that I own, which happens to be 6 inch. We'll use that as a guide, just as we did with the reamer. And that's going in nicely. Alright, with our bushings installed, that feels great. There's no lateral movement at all, and it has very nice rotational movement, nice and smooth. Just what we're looking for. Back to the car. There will be more tuning to come on it. Thanks for joining me out here in the workshop playing with the El Camino. This is number one of several vlogs to get me going for the Hot Rod Power Tour. Catch me again soon. Like and subscribe if you get a chance. Thanks.